Howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame their growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, I got a little story for y'all. Today on Roofer Growth Hacks, we have Steve Rosenbaum, who's the creator of the Flawless Followup customer LTV System. With over 40 years of experience in sales automation and marketing, Steve has empowered tens of thousands of businesses worldwide to enhance their customer retention and maximize revenue. His engaging and practical approach promises to deliver actionable insights that you can implement in your own roofing business. So listen up as Steve shares some awesome growth hacks. All right, roofers, thanks so much for joining us today, Steve. I think that this is going to be a fun episode because it is right up my alley on a lot of the things that you do. So I'm actually excited to learn from you. So this is going to be kind of cool here. So why don't we first start with tell us who you are, what you do, what your company is, and a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey in between all that.
Absolutely, Chris. First of all, thanks so much for having me. I'm Steve Rosenbaum and the founder of a company called Flawless Followup. And my business is to help other businesses maximize their revenue per customer, get more repeat business, convert more leads into sales, and get more of those referrals and that word of mouth that everybody loves so much.
Love it. Love it. And a lot you and I met at our mastermind group, I don't know, what was that, about a year ago or so at this point? I'm not quite sure. But we had a great talk, I think, there about this whole flawless follow-up system. Why don't you tell us more about that?
Well, thanks so much, Chris. And yes, we met there and I was speaking at that event about reactivation and database reactivation. And something you and I were speaking a little bit about off camera because of the nature of roofers. And many people think that, roofing is not a repeatable sale, but we were talking about all the opportunities that there are and why it is so important for roofers, as it is for any business, to grow their list and market to their list and do it in an effective way, because it's always the fastest way to get new sales, but it's so often overlooked, right? So that's my message. Now, how did that happen? And I hope we got a long time because I'm an old guy, so I've got a lot of history and a lot of experience.
We're good.
That's where all this gray hair came from. All right. So, I spent nearly 3 decades in the corporate world, and I was a sales guy. Specifically, I was a sales executive, and I worked in many different industries. And I often got hired and brought into companies to quickly fix their sales. Now we're talking about, we're going on for 3 decades. I graduated college in the mid 80s. All right. So, technology was certainly different in those days, right? But the needs were the same. And the thing was, the markets were the same. And the thing that many, many, many companies overlook, you've heard it yourself, right? People say, I need new leads. I need new customers. I need new all the time, right?
Yep.
Yet everybody knows instinctively, but it's also been proven with stats and all sorts of studies that the new customer is the hardest customer. It's the most expensive customer. It takes the longest. It's the riskiest versus people that already know, like, and trust you. We've already built that bond, built that connection, and reaching out and going and getting them and giving them a reason to come back and buy from you. Now, I discovered that early on by accident. I tell a story. That book right back there is called So What Do You Do? It's by Joel Comm. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He interviewed the 40 geniuses next door, and I was number 40. I was the last chapter of the book.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I told a story called The Perfect Sales Storm, and I won't tell the whole story here. Go buy the book or go listen to it on my website or whatever, because I tell a story. But the bottom line is, when I was really early in my career, I was like 25 years old, and I made a huge sale. And when you hear the story, you're going to say, well, you were lucky. Yeah, I was. I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time with the right message by luck. Yeah. Okay. But what I figured out by that is That's the ingredients to making a sale, being at the right place at the right time with the right message.
Hmm.
So how can we put systems and processes in place to make that happen predictably and not relying on luck? That's what we do for companies now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I came up to the corporate world. I always knew I was going to be a sales guy. I've always been very entrepreneurial. I invented a game when I was in college with my brother, and had reasonable success. And then graduated college and went right into sales. In the luggage industry. I started off with Samsonite luggage,
Okay.
and my first guy that I worked for, my trainer, used a Macintosh computer and an Excel spreadsheet and a pencil and paper, and that's what we called marketing automation back in 1986. And I got hooked, and I developed spreadsheets and systems, linking spreadsheets together, doing a lookup here and do it.
Mhm.
I was doing automation. In fact, I created a series of linked spreadsheets and macros, programmed some stuff to happen in Excel, real geeky stuff. And I'm not a geek. Well, I didn't think I was. I guess I am now. Um, but I came up with a pretty good name for this automated sales system. I called it Salesforce. Unfortunately, I didn't know about domains back then. I wish I would have bought the name, but I
Right.
invented Salesforce in 1986, but it's not the same Salesforce that you know today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
So, anyways, but that started it off, and then 3 decades in the corporate world, and eventually got liberated, fired back after the housing bubble. By the way, I was in the building industry, and
Hmm.
I was with a building materials company. And when the housing bubble hit back in '08, '09, um, I lost my position along with 10,000 other people with that company before they
Mm.
eventually went belly up. I
Wow.
bet you many of the people listening here know that company, especially if you're in Central Texas. But anyways, so I was with them, but after that, I said, well, I'm done working for people. I'm
Mhm.
gonna do this for myself. If I've got a tough boss, then I might as well work for myself.
Yeah.
And so here I am. Here I am. But that's when the last thing I'll say, because I've been going on and on and on. But no, the where I hung out my shingle and found out the businesses really, really wanted help and needed help, where I'm different than all the other marketing guys out there, is my focus on that retention, on converting
Mhm.
the leads that you have first. And many businesses, including all these roofers listening to us, they've got more
Mhm.
leads than they think, but not enough. But I could show them how they could do a better job converting those, as I know you can.
Yep.
Okay. But that's my message to them, right? I'm going to help them with that. I'm going to help you convert the leads that you have into customers, take those customers and maximize your lifetime value, which includes getting referrals and testimonials and reviews and all that good stuff.
Love that. Yeah, and what I see in the roofing industry, especially, because I've worked in different verticals before, different niches, if you will. Um, in the roofing industry, what struck me the most when I first started working with them is how they just um, get a job, move to the next job, get a job, move to the next job, and it's almost, to me, it's almost like this feast and famine cycle, right? Especially the smaller that you are, and the newer that you are to, you're owning your own business. And that's most businesses, by the way, right? I mean, let's be real on that. Most small businesses at the start, that you've got that feast and famine cycle. Okay. But I especially see that in the roofing industry. And what I notice is that very few roofing companies actually go back to their prior customers. One, for good customer service, right? Hey, did the roof actually work? Did the repair actually work? That, you have any issues? And two, very few go back to them over time to cross sell, right? So I think that's what your system really talks to, if I'm not mistaken.
You're 100% correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah. So that's what we do.
So what makes, I know you've got this, I think it's a trademarked system, right? Flawless follow up, right?
Mhm.
What makes that unique? Like I think that you have a special way of doing it, right?
I do. Okay, so it is, you're right. It's trademarked, it's proprietary.
Mhm.
All right. And any system is only as good as the people behind it. And so one of the differences is, I've been doing this for so long that I've learned so many tricks, going back from what I told you where this all came from. I recognized, specifically that what it takes to make the sale, and I put the systems in place. Now here's what we know. I just did a webinar before this program, okay, talking about certain things. Many systems, marketing automation is becoming a little more prevalent today than it was
Mhm.
5 years ago. All
Mhm.
right. But you look at 99% of the systems, and what it means is it says, okay, send an email today, send an email in 2 days, send another one in 2 days, send another one in 2 days after that. They do this 5 or 6 times and they're done. And
Mhm.
that's it. Okay. And that's what I call whack-a-mole marketing. Just like the carnival game, right?
Yeah.
You get, imagine somebody with a sledgehammer, right? And somebody peeking their head up and you just whack them with that message. One size fits all, one message for everybody, one sledgehammer, one message.
Mhm.
All right. It doesn't cut it today. If you listen to Google, all right, and Google says, have you heard about that 7-11-4 rule by Google? So you've probably heard many people say things like it takes 8 messages before somebody hears you, or 12 messages.
Mhm.
Well, Google came out with something mind-boggling, and Google has a little bit of data, so they were able to study
Yeah.
this. It doesn't take 8 messages. It doesn't take 12 messages. It takes what Google calls 7-11-4. All right. They
Okay.
need to listen to this. They need to spend 7 hours on your content. By the way, this is great for somebody like you who does a
Yeah.
podcast. Congrats.
Right.
Okay. Great for you. Okay. And by the way, I don't know if you offer this, but roofers should have a podcast. Talk to Chris. He'll tell you how to do it.
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, there's one reason right there. Because Google says people need to listen to you for 7 hours. So imagine that, Mr. Roofer, Mrs. Roofer, that you get a homeowner's attention, and now they've listened to you for 7 hours. Guess what? Now they know, like, and trust you. You've built that. Built your credibility. You've built your rapport. All right. That needs to, and this is where I might get a little bit wrong. You need to touch them 11 different times during those 7 hours on 4 different platforms, 4 different media. All right. So maybe it's your podcast, Chris. Maybe it's a YouTube
Mhm.
video. Maybe it's an email. Maybe it's Facebook. It's social media. It's Instagram. It's TikTok. It's creating that everywhere effect. It's like, oh
Yeah.
wow, there's that roofing
Yeah.
company. Wow, because it makes them think, wow, they're big. They're everywhere. I see them here. I see them here. I see them here. I spend time with them. Now I know, like, and trust them.
Yeah.
All right. Now, so, okay, so it goes back to flawless follow-up. How are we different? Well, instead of just sending the same message, 4 messages, and say that's what they call it. It's what people call a nurture campaign, right? 4 messages, we're
Right.
done.
Right.
Right. But, so, okay, you generate this content,
Mhm.
but how do you deliver that content? So that's one of the things that we do is help businesses structure. How do we deliver all these different messages? And then in the sales world, we have something called cadence. You familiar with that term? And
Mhm.
and I'll talk about it here because it's not a real common roofing term. Okay. In the sales world, we have what's called cadence. All right. And cadence is literally, well, what does a sequence look like? And what does it sound like? And what is the messaging like? And how intense are the messages? And what's the speed of the follow-up and so forth? All right.
Mhm.
Well, guess what? Your cadence matters, because if somebody's not showing any interest in your product right now,
Mhm.
you don't want to be hitting them with these real intense and real heavy hitting and real salesy messages.
Yeah.
They're,
Right.
they might not even be aware they have a problem yet. So back off that cadence, tone down the cadence. Now's the time for you to be educational and
Mhm.
entertaining and engaging. I call that the 3 E's. Okay. Entertaining, educational, and engaging. Build that trust factor. All you do is building the trust factor. Why? Because you're getting that top of mind presence so people know
Mhm.
who you are. Because you know why? The best time for a roofer to get a homeowner to know who they are is before that homeowner needs a roofer. All right.
Yep.
If you wait till the time they need a roofer, you and I were both in Central Texas, right? So tornado comes, hailstorm comes,
Mhm.
and it's amazing how many roofers come out of the woodwork. I mean, we got
Yeah.
people from New Orleans, we got people from Oklahoma, we got
Mhm.
people with landscaping trucks with magnetic signs on them, right? It's
Yeah.
anybody with a ladder and a pickup truck is a
Yeah.
roofer after
Yep.
a hailstorm.
Right.
Well, why do you want to be competing with them? Why don't you get them? Why don't you get in their database on the home screen of their phone, building that trust, getting them to know who you are, and getting them to know, like, and trust you. So
Hmm.
get them on, get your speed dial set now.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only so you're there when when the storm comes, but you got more things to sell them than just replacement roofs when a storm comes. And they don't
Right.
know that. Anyways, I even forget the question, but hopefully I answered it, Chris.
Well, I think we were just talking about, the flawless follow-up system and really and I love this idea of cadence and the 7-Eleven 4, right? And you see me looking down here. If you're watching on YouTube, you see me looking down. I'm actually writing a ton of notes here because hey, I've been in this industry for 23 years myself, but I can always learn, right? And I think that the 7-Eleven 4 just makes sense, right? Uh, and coming from a standpoint of what I do it because my coaches tell me to do it, right? And it got me out of being an introvert, mind you, of sitting behind a computer. I'm still sitting behind a computer, right
You're
now,
talking
but
to people.
I know, but I'm talking to people, right? Um, but you can't imagine how many people that do come to me that have consumed, like I've had people binge watch Roofer Growth Hacks and our YouTube channel, right? All of the content that we do on our, and they tell me that, and then that they've read my book, okay, and then they come and hire me. So why can't you, as a roofing company owner, do that same exact model and become omnipresent, right? In those homeowners' minds. There's
That's
no
it,
reason.
Chris. You
Yeah,
nailed it. Yeah, it
yeah,
really doesn't matter what you do, right?
right.
So, and by the way, you mentioned, hey, this is what your coach tells you to do, but
Yeah,
you're coaching all these roofers. So hopefully they're
yeah.
listening to you because they should be doing the same thing.
None of them want to do a podcast. I don't know why. I don't.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And it's a commitment. It's
Mhm.
definitely a commitment, right?
Yep.
And you know, look, I do understand. I do
Mhm.
understand. But here's what I say. Um, I'm not here to convince people to do things.
Yeah.
I'm here to find the people that are ready, willing, and able that want to go to the next step and help them.
Yeah.
All right. So when you say they don't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Probably 97% of roofers don't want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
But the 3% that do, you're going to take them to the next level and they're going to eat the lunch of the other 97%.
Absolutely. In any kind of content creation, I found, at least the past 3 or 4 years of doing it, is um, one, being consistent with it, right? And to commit to doing it for a reason and understand that that reason is a long play. It's not a short term. I'm going to do 5 videos and I'm going to become the omnipresent roofer. Okay, that ain't going to happen, right? You got to have 500 videos in order to be the omnipresent, you know, roofer in your area. So, okay, so we have talked about a lot of about this, but what are some common mistakes that you see when people come to you? When you look at their entire follow up. So you mentioned it before. The nurture campaign of 4 emails, and then that's it, right? What should it be in your mind? What how do we fix that?
Well, that's not the initial problem.
Hmm.
The initial problem is the list.
Yeah.
Okay. We all that saying the money's in the list.
Yeah.
And it's true. There's more than that, right? But number one, I'm not just going to pick on roofers here. Any business should be building their list. All right.
Hmm.
So roofers are number one, roofers already have a bigger list than they realize. First thing I do with a client is what I call a data dig
Hmm.
because they've got data everywhere. If you're running a business, you probably have QuickBooks, so you've got
Hmm.
data in QuickBooks. You probably have a calendar, you got data in your calendar. You've got an email inbox, you got data in your email inbox. All right, what else do you have? Do you have a CRM? Do you have a phone book on your phone? Do you have
Yeah.
paper files? You've
Yeah.
got data in all these different places. By the way, if you've got a website and your website says sign up for our newsletter, and you probably don't even have a newsletter, but you probably have people in your website that signed up for your newsletter. All right.
Yes.
Ask me how I know, because I do this with all my clients. We do this
Yeah.
data dig. We got this
Hmm.
checklist. Go down, boom, 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 boom. Guess what? We end up with a list, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's number one, is you have that list. Get it together. That's number
Mhm.
one. Number two, focus all your marketing not on selling a roof, but on building your list.
Mhm.
All right. If you focus all your marketing on, and even if it's not selling a roof, but on a specific service,
Mhm.
whatever services, other services you offer. All right. Remember, there's only 3% of the market that's really paying attention to that right now. So
Mhm.
don't focus on that. Focus on building that list. Chris, I imagine a big reason you do the podcast is because it builds your list.
It does.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about your marketing. Whether you're hanging door hangers on knobs, okay, which if that's what you think is marketing, talk to Chris. All right. But even if you're doing that, for goodness sake, have that door hanger build your list. Don't
Mhm.
try to sell a roof from a door hanger. It's not going to work.
Right.
All right. And if you think people are going to save it and remember where it is when they need it, you're wrong. It's
Mhm.
not. It's not going to happen. All right. On
Mhm.
the other hand, all right, use it and give people a reason to opt in. Now, here's another big one. All right. This is a freebie for everybody. And this is actually a product that I sell at Flawless Followup, and I call it Connector. But I replaced the C in Connector with a
Mhm.
Q. So you got a Q on the front, you got an R on the back. Guess what? It's a QR code. If
Um,
you've got a QR code on your truck, if you've got a QR code on your ad, on a billboard, on a door hanger, okay, and that QR code is redirecting to your website,
mhm.
all right, because true story, true story, I was at a stoplight and I happened to be next to a roofer in a pickup truck, and he had a QR code. Now, I was just testing this out because I didn't need a roofer, but I scanned his QR code. Guess what? It went to his website. All
Yeah.
right. I took a picture of his truck too. I texted him a message later that day and I said, "Hey, I scanned your QR code, but nobody ever called me back." And guess what he said? He said, "Well, I didn't know you scanned my QR code." So guess what I responded? "Would you like to?" So what do you do with that? Well, many people don't know this, but you could design a QR code to do a lot of different things, not just go to a website. One thing
Mhm.
you could design it to do is to send a text message. Now, Chris has got a system, and I've got a system of Flawless Follow-Up that when an inbound text message comes in, guess what? It creates a contact in our system. And guess what? We could put it on a follow-up. All right. So if somebody scans your truck because they're stopped at a red light and that light turns green and they forget about it and they go forward, well, guess what? You now have them in your system. You've built your list,
Mhm.
and you could follow up with a message a few hours later saying, "Hey, you sent me this text message. You probably got busy. How can we help you?"
That's ingenious, right? I
It builds your list like that instantly.
like
It's a
that.
fastest way to build a list without an opt-in form.
Mhm.
And now you capture them on a sequence. Now, there's other things you have to do to stay compliant.
Mhm.
Chris will help you with that. Okay.
Yeah.
There's new rules. It's not the wild, wild west anymore. Email marketing and text messaging have gotten very, very difficult. It used to be the
Mhm.
wild, wild west. It's not. So you
Yeah.
need to talk to somebody like Chris to stay compliant, to do it the right way. But he'll help you with that.
And I love that, right? I mean, even I didn't know that you could scan a QR code and it does an SMS. And yes, you're right. We do have a system that could 100% handle that. And I mean, that's great. What else can you use QR? What else have you told clients, right, besides on their trucks, that they can use QR codes for to do the same thing?
Oh, anything. Do you have shirts? Do you have hats? Do you skywrite in the sky? Pay somebody to skywrite a QR code. That'd be interesting. Uh, anywhere, right? I'll
Right.
tell you a story. Um, and this was before QR codes. We're probably going back a little more than 10 years. Okay.
Okay.
But I was thinking about starting an online hot sauce company, just selling hot sauce in an e-commerce store. So in Austin, they were having a hot sauce festival. All right. So I said, I'm going to try something. I printed a custom shirt, front and back. I did two, one for me and one for my son. All right. And it said, "We're giving away a free hot sauce, to a winner. and I had a little chili pepper cartoon on it,
Yeah.
and it said text in, text hot sauce to this number. I had a keyword and I had a phone number. No QR code in those days. I
Yeah.
just had the message. Send me a text message. Just walking around that show, I came home with 50 leads from people that were hot sauce enthusiasts.
Super cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So literally you could do it anywhere, right? But if you're
Yeah.
wherever you advertise, stop advertising for the sale and start using the advertising to build your list. Because now you could use it over and over and over and over again and do a real nurture campaign, not 4 messages, right? I mean, a real nurture, do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's what, in Flawless Follow-Up, we've got 7 core campaigns that we make sure that all of our clients get into so that we're hitting them with the correct cadence at the right time. All right. We don't play whack-a-mole marketing. Most marketing agencies do. Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Most agencies will sell you leads, but then
Mhm.
those leads don't turn into sales. And
No.
then you get upset and you say to the marketing agency, "Oh, your leads suck." No,
Yeah.
it wasn't that the leads sucked. Okay, you need a better system on the back end of those leads.
Yeah.
So I've got a system called Lead CPR because we resuscitate dead leads.
Mhm.
I also have Sales CPR because we resuscitate, well, I shouldn't say dead customers, but past customers. So yeah, that's what we do.
Okay. Love it. Absolutely love that. All right.
Thanks, man.
So while we're talking about follow up and all of these cool things, right? How are you seeing AI play into and help with all of this? Because AI is super, super big right now. I literally just did a webinar on AI for roofers. How is that helping this flawless follow up system?
The possibilities are endless. Okay.
Mhm.
But literally, as I mentioned earlier, I did a webinar just this morning, and we were talking about using AI in this case specifically for our messaging.
Mhm.
All right. And turning out absolutely incredible messaging for any niche, any
Yeah.
niche. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's in my world, that's probably the most obvious. Okay. As you
Mhm.
could use AI for that. You could use AI you could use it for lead generation.
Mhm.
All right. And following up with those leads. Be careful about the way you do it. All right. Remember, there are still compliance issues, and we still have to
Yeah.
pay attention to that. And I will say that with the world of AI, it's a little bit of the wild, wild west today, but that will
Mhm.
change.
Yeah.
That will change. We'll get more compliance things. You could use it as a company to replace employees. And
Mhm.
that sounds so terrible, right? But, for the past several years, as I talk to businesses, hiring employees and getting good help has been one of their biggest challenges.
Mhm.
So I don't want to be cynical about this. I don't want to say fire your staff and replace them with a
Yeah.
robot. But
Yeah.
I do want to say that, you can get yourself good qualified help that works
Mhm.
for you 24/7, 365 and never takes a sick day and never
Right.
complains.
Right.
That's all true. That's so you could do those things as well. And Chris, I'm probably missing a ton of other things that you've probably heard of. I mean, AI is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I was just curious on really the automation side of things because I've been really diving deep into a lot of AI automation personally, and trying to figure out how to automate some of these uh, systems for our roofers, right? So how would
We should
you
have we should
set
have a
that up?
talk about that. We should have a
Yeah.
talk about that. There's
Yeah.
definitely opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and I'm just sitting there thinking, I know that like in our system that we use, we call it the appointment machine, CRM, right? There's these workflows that you can set up. Have you played around at all with setting up like an AI endpoint to any of those follow ups and just let it kind of just train it and then let it do the follow up?
It's a good question, and probably to some aspects. I'm not currently deploying them on a regular basis.
Okay.
I've certainly played around with the possibilities, and they are there for sure. They
Yeah.
are there for sure. I haven't taken the time to develop it out and implement it and test it, but yeah, there's so many opportunities there. Yes.
Yeah, because I could totally see if you training an agent, if you will, right, an AI agent, with your system, okay, with cadence and anyways, I can see that being really, really cool. Something really cool. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, here's something um, that I am doing. All right. Now, my business is diverse in many ways. Not only do I help businesses
Mhm.
and put these systems in place for businesses, but I also sell training courses. I speak. I've got memberships. I've got masterminds, and I literally have about 12 years of recordings of me doing training and webinars and things like that. And the information is largely evergreen in terms of the
Mhm.
process. Processes don't change. I've got a saying that says technology changes nothing, but improves everything.
Yeah.
All right. The processes, the foundational strategies, they
Mhm.
really don't change. But technology lets us do it better, faster, cheaper, more reliably,
Right.
all the above. All right. So some of my stuff, you might look at it and say 12 years old. That is so old. But the
Mhm.
foundational strategy is great, right? The bottom line is I probably have 700 or 800 hours of these videos,
Wow.
and it's in a membership site. All
Yeah.
right. Now, nobody in the world is going to pay me and go into a membership site and watch 800 hours of videos. All right. However, what can I do with it? I have trained a bot on
Mhm.
those 800 hours of videos. Now you can go in and you could use the bot. You could say, hey, what's the best way to convert a dead lead?
Mhm.
And it will tell you. And not only will it tell you, it'll be highly accurate. Okay. It will give you a list of references with links to the actual videos where I say these things. And the links go right to, so it might show you a video from 2018, at the 36-minute and 43-second mark.
Yeah.
Steve said this about converting leads. And my goodness, it does it. So that's AI. We're doing that with AI as well.
That's awesome.
And it's pretty well trained because it's trained on 800 hours of content.
Yeah, and yeah, and that's the key really to AI is really the data behind everything, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty much anything, it's software, any kind of system whatsoever. So,
Yep.
all right, we're going to take a brief pause here, right, to listen to a message from our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. All right, and we are back for the lightning round. Well, Steve, are you ready for this? Basically, there's one rule only. You have 1 minute or less to answer each of these questions, and that sometimes it's tough. I get it, but
So
you
one
get
one minute
bonus
per
points.
question or 1 minute
One
total?
1 minute per question. 1 minute per
Okay.
question. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, you ready?
Well, we'll see.
All right. First question. What is your favorite personal hack? This could be a book, a podcast, whatever. Anything goes where our roofer growth hacks.
Well, you know what? Right now, I'm on the carnivore diet, and I'm also doing intermittent fasting, and
Hmm.
they're both really helping me. First of all, I've lost a ton of weight. I'm down about getting close to 50 pounds from my heaviest. All
Wow.
right, still have more to go. But one of the biggest reasons I started was because I was having some really bad arthritis problems in my shoulder. I couldn't raise my arms,
Mm.
and I went to a chiropractor, and he says the carnivore diet is going to help you with your inflammation. Within about 2 weeks, all of a sudden it's like, my God, all the pain's gone. And I was in such bad pain. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't get comfortable. I was having trouble, taking a shower, terrible
Yeah.
stuff. And all of a
Huh.
sudden one day I'm in the shower. I'm like, oh my God, the pain's gone. So I'm 60 days into a 90-day program, lost weight, pain
Right.
is gone, feeling great, doing the intermittent fasting too. And it's really helping.
Wow. Congratulations. That's pretty awesome. Love
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, what is your favorite business hack? That again can be a book, podcast, whatever. Anything goes here.
I may have given it to you. Okay. And so it's something that I do, but A, it's build your list, and C, I'm gonna go with connector. All right. And then I'm gonna say, and then once you do that, go the rest of the way with flawless follow up. But that's just a shameless self promotion.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all right. That's good. All right. I love it. All right, Steve. That's awesome. So, next question. What is the best advice that you've ever been given and bonus points for how you actually applied it?
Oh boy. Okay. Tough one here. Let me think. I'll tell you, here's one when it comes to negotiating. Okay. And
Hmm.
there might be two parts to this. Okay. And the first one is that when negotiating or selling, okay, he who talks the most loses. All right. Now there's other advice I've heard like that too, right? Which is like you
Yep.
got two ears and one mouth, so listen twice
Yep.
as much as you talk. So similar type stuff, right? But
Yeah.
really the importance of listening. Similarly, when it comes down to naming a price, negotiating says that he who names the first price loses.
Right.
All right. So how do I apply that? I definitely try to apply that as I work with businesses, and I try to be consultative. I try to hear where they really are. All right. Now I'll ask a lot of follow-up questions, but all those
Yeah.
follow-up questions get them talking more. So if
Right.
I ask a question and they answer it and they spend twice as long answering it, and I ask another question, and they spell it, then I'm fulfilling it, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of people, a lot of businesses will come to me and they say, I need this. For instance, I need new leads. Well, what a lot of people will do that's a mistake is they'll just listen to that and go out and get them new leads. But I
Hmm.
will ask them the question of why. Why do you need new leads? Have you, and we've been talking about the whole time, have you already gotten all your leads together and done a reactivation
Yep.
campaign and built all the 7 core systems the right way? Because those are the things to be doing first. So, anyways, I'll listen. But then just because they say something doesn't necessarily mean that that is really what they need. After all, they're coming to me because I'm the expert.
Hmm. Love it.
So that's how
Absolutely
I've
love it.
applied it.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. How can the Roofer Growth Hacks family get in touch with you, and how can we support you and encourage you moving forward?
Well, thank you. First of all, Chris, thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed this. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really excited that I hope some of these tips help the roofers that are listening, right? But if you want
Yeah.
to know more, if you want to follow me, guess what? I got a lot of content, as you know, right? I've got a community. It's a school group. If you're familiar with school, and it's called Apes, just like a big monkey, right? So go to school.com/apes, and school is SKOOL.com. And APES is an acronym for the Automated Profit Expansion System. All
Hmm.
right, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to expand your profits, help you sell a lot more than just chasing storms. All right, whatever the case is. But there's a lot you could learn there, and also you should be talking to Chris, right? So make sure that you can follow some of my advice, and then go talk to Chris about how to implement it. I'm totally fine with that.
Love that. Love that. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed. I've got a whole page of notes here, of you kept seeing me look down, but really you gave some really gold nuggets here. And I just really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Thank you, Chris. My pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Everybody have a great day. We just want everybody to make more money.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that amazing or what? I know that I have a ton of notes here. Gosh, I always write down all these notes, but I love, love, love learning from these industry experts. So here's my biggest takeaways. All right. The first was the Google 7-11-4 rule. Okay. What Steve talked about was 7 hours. Okay. 11 touches and 4 media. Right. He talked about listening for 7 hours, but I would say if you've got video content, maybe for YouTube, um, you know, if people watch you for 7 hours, do it for 11 times and it's on multimedias, multi channels, right? If you will, meaning like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, maybe TikTok, maybe LinkedIn, right? That's five right there. Twitter, if you've got it, that's a sixth one. Google Business Profile, that's a seventh one, right? So you've got all of these different channels that you could be putting media out into. Now, why media? Well, because that's the easiest way for people to get to know, like, and trust you. And that's what this cadence, what he's talking about here, is for. speaking of proper cadence, he talked about that the whole purpose of that is to educate, entertain, and engage. Okay. So whatever that you do, make sure that you are educating, but make it entertaining, because people, if they wanted to watch, something that educated and did not entertain, then they'd be watching, I don't know, stuff that's not really on TV anymore, right? Because it's not very entertaining. We as humans like to be entertained and to engage with all of that. So, the other thing that he talked about quite a bit was the money's in the list, and that's something that I have said over the years on this podcast, as well as all of our other videos that we produce. You should always be building your list, even if somebody didn't go with you, right? Take that contact information, keep it in your database, touch them over and over and over again via email, via SMS, whatever that it takes to keep them in your world. Okay. He did talk about that proper cadence, right? Is that it's going to be heavier in the beginning and less over time, so make sure that you do have some sort of nurturing, built in for that. The biggest takeaway that I had, though, was when he talked about the QR codes on your trucks. I didn't know, and I'm in the industry, so I'm betting you don't know or didn't know that you could build a database full of phone numbers that you can go back to. Now, there are some compliance issues on that, but if you've got a QR code on your truck, on your trucks, on your shirts, on your hats, I don't know how you do it on your hats, but definitely on your shirts, you can put it on the back. If you're building that database, you could possibly get with that person, over time. It's possible. I'll have to put some thought into exactly how to do that, but that opened up a whole new avenue in my mind, for how you can build your database. So take big note of that, if you will. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with Steve online. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or you can check out our website at roofingsites.com or go to YouTube or any of that kind of stuff. And while you're out there, you can listen to other previous episodes of Roofer Growth Hacks. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send you a free digital copy. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.